so glad that you're here. My name's Ricky, pronouns he, him. I am the music director for Grace Point Church, which is this is where we meet. So we're so excited. Derek will be on in a little bit. I know that y'all are so anxious to hear his new album. I'm sure many of you have already heard it. But first, I would like for y'all to give the warmest, biggest welcome for a fantastic, fabulous artist, Miss Flamey Grant.
Hey, y'all. I'm a medium, I'm a fortune teller. I know every word you're gonna say. I'm a headstrong, lifelong city dweller. I can take you where you're going by the fastest way. We're gonna be okay. I travel time, I'm here from the future. I can show you how this all turns out. I can save you with the data in my computer. We can flourish in the flood and avoid the drought. We're gonna make it out. You feel it in your bones. Your head is moving slow. I'm a scientist, I got a method and a measure for observable, reliable, repeatable fact. I'm a decorated educator in the field of pleasure. I've learned a lot of lessons I can reenact. Yeah, I've been keeping track. You sense that I am true. Your heart is split in two. I'm a prophetess, singing my story, a dressed up, effervescent, ethical fraud. But this world ain't ready for an allegory, no. We're still waiting on a literal God. I just smile and nod. You have intuition. And it's telling you the story isn't done. Shake out those nerves. This is a big deal for me. I'm so excited to be here. Oh. Just pleased as punch that Derek asked me to come out, and I know that he's going to put on an amazing show. There are surprise guests in our midst who are going to emerge throughout the night. It's a real great night, and I'm ecstatic to be here. So thank you for having me here in Nashville. I'm a drag queen, by the way. Shocking. And a singer-songwriter. And the question I get the most is, why? And the answer that I give the most is, because I want to. And then if the conversation continues, I do have more to say. And sometimes I will say, well, I think that I've been writing songs much longer than I've been doing drag. I think I wrote my first song when I was 9 years old and walked it upstairs to my mom, and it was called Lord Your Love, and she was very proud of me. And I've been doing drag for 3.5-ish years now. But the thing that about, or the big earrings and they're caught on something. The thing about being a songwriter and doing drag that the overlap I've found is that songwriters are really just kind of looking at the world and dressing it up in drag, right? Like with words. That's what songwriting is to me. It's looking at the world and thinking about how it could be better, or what's beautiful about it, and let's put accessories to that, right? Sounds and words and patterns and cadences. And so when I started doing drag during pandemic, y'all probably picked up like a sourdough starter or watched Tiger King or something. I watched 1 million hours of YouTube makeup tutorials. That's how I spent my pandemic. It just kind of, it came naturally to kind of just take my songwriting and put it into the drag. So that's a little bit of why I do what I do. But this song is called What Did You Drag Me Into? Ha ha ha. Fun. And it's kind of my autobiography. It is embellished a touch because I'm a drag queen, so I'm gonna put a rhinestone on it. But yeah, I hope you like it. Picture this an American scene, lost in the cover of a magazine. Bible Belt baby wanna be your queen. Lord mama tried to keep a little boy clean. She found him with her high heels on, a 2-foot train of green chiffon. That messy lip was overdrawn, it was shocking and obscene. But mama knows that she's been blessed, and she's always done her best to cheer her little angel on, no matter how he's dressed. Now her baby boy is grown, on stage in wigs and silicone. After the show she's crying, child, what did you drag me into? What'd you drag me into? I said, oh. Imagine this, it's Christmas Eve, time for the church nativity. Papa's in the front row trying to see, and he rubs his eyes cause he can't believe. Mary, Mary, Mother mild is played by a familiar child. His son is walking down the aisle, to a virgin shall conceive. Papa takes most things in stride, and he works hard to provide. He likes tradition, and when gender roles are clear and codified, so he'll never understand why his son is not a man. All that he can say is, boy, what did you drag me into? Yeah, I was baptized at the age of 12. Under the water, I came under a spell. I heard the Holy Ghost in the chlorine. She said, girl, you better go make a hell of a scene. Yeah. Girl, you better go now. I said, oh yeah. Mama, why you melting down? Some babies show up with a crown. Ain't nothing you can say or do's gonna turn that shimmer down. Ain't no need to be ashamed, but if you want someone to blame, look up to heaven and cry, Lord, what did you drag me into? Oh yeah, what did you drag me into? What did you drag me into? What did you drag me into? Oh yeah, yeah. What did you drag me into? What did you drag me into? What did you drag me into? Oh. Woo! I'm very glad I brought this. Y'all keep the AC nice and cool here in Nashville, which I appreciate. But even that, when you've got 5 layers of Spanx on, sometimes you need a little extra help. What?
Our governor's an air conditioning guy.
Oh, really? That's where he came from? No wonder he's making such shitty political decisions. I'm so sorry. There are kids in our midst, and I don't. Is that all right? Are there any other kids or parents who want me to keep it PG or PG-13? Okay, good, because actually the next song has some words in it. What I do is I substitute emojis when I'm in super places where I don't want to be caught on video as a drag queen singing bad words in front of kids. I substitute emojis, but if you're cool with it, then we'll just roll with it. Hi, what's your name? Jan? June. That's a beautiful name. I love your yellow dress. Maybe you can tell me where you got it after this. Well, so maybe you caught on in that song, but I'm a Bible Belt baby. I grew up in Asheville, North Carolina, and grew up in part of evangelicalism. It's called Plymouth Brethren. Anybody familiar with? Oh boy. We got some fellow traumatized people in the room. Well, this song is about the Sunday school lessons I wish I had heard more of growing up in that tradition. I heard a lot about Abraham and Isaac, the boys. But I was drawn to a different set of stories, and so this song is called Esther, Ruth, and Rahab. In the church where I was raised, all the women hid their hair with what can only be called doilies made of lace. Well, they sat beside their husbands and they never spoke a word, 'cause public prayer was not a woman's place. But literally any man was welcome to stand up. For an hour we would listen to them talk. And I guess the lesson there is God would only hear a prayer when it came from a person with a cock. As a kid, those Sunday mornings made me restless, bored and numb, and my Bible was the one way to pass time. So I spent the hour in search of stories brimming with suspense, and I found Esther, Ruth, and Rahab were sublime. Castaways who outwitted and outplayed an immigrant ancestor to the incarnate divine. Everyone has a star that lights their way. We see our paths by someone else's shine. Well, Esther, Ruth, and Rahab, they were mine. Every Sunday I would find a brand new story of a girl who made some patriarch meet his match. Well, they were painted as conniving, but it wasn't hard to see that secretly most men just fear the snatch. It's true, there are some absolutely terrified looking men in here right now. Deborah's military mind, it brought peace for 40 years. The witch of Endor, she saw right through Saul's charade. Of course, Eve said, fuck the system, I am chasing after wisdom. Rachel wouldn't let herself be played. Jezebel sure gave them hell, but she wasn't scared to die. If you're with JL, think twice when you recline. The only reason we have Moses is 'cause Miriam was there to keep his petty ass in line. Castaways who outlasted and outplayed an immigrant ancestor to the incarnate divine. Everyone has a star that lights their way. We see our paths by someone else's shine. Well, Esther, Ruth, and Rahab, they were mine. When they talk about the heroes of the faith, help myself this way. And like 50 other ways, you can't buy just one. My church insisted women all be small, submissive, and unseen. But their own holy book betrayed that lie. 'Cause in those pages you'll find badass rebel warriors and queens, prophetesses, witches, whores, and wives, all causing scenes. Every woman in the scriptures smash the norms to smithereens. So it's a good thing when a girl learns how to fly. And that's one truth from the Bible I'll hold on to till I die. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love a little deep dive. Any song that mentions jail, right? Also, I've now done both of my songs that use the word prophetess, so you don't have to hear that word anymore. Unless it's in the Jesus hypothesis. It may be in there, I don't know. When I heard there were some special guests coming tonight, I asked Derek who they were, and then I poached one. So you might have noticed Jennifer Knapp's in the room. Do you want to come sing with me? So this is a song, actually I don't know where do you want to stand? Here? There?
Away from the danger end.
Oh yeah, that's smart. I won't be that far away.
I'm not afraid.
I sprayed perfume, I smell okay.
You smell delicious.
Thank you. This is a song, I don't even know if you know this, but this is a song that we used to do in my church, actually. And when I was recording my record, it was initially supposed to be a 5-song EP, and we just got really excited. First of all, we raised enough money to do a few more songs, and we got really excited, and like, let's just do a full album. And I was like, Flamey doesn't have 10 songs yet. So I kind of dug in the repertoire, and this is one that we actually used to sing at my church. I wrote it for my church in San Diego. So it's kind of a worship song.
I think, yeah.
Yeah? Are you guys okay with a worship song?
Yeah.
I mean, we are in a church right now. So.
When you sent me the song to sing on, I was like, this is a worship song. It turns out I'm all right with it. It's good.
Yeah, good. Well, Jen said yes to singing on the track, so if you go
Wait till you see what we've done with it.
Oh yeah. Just wait. This is called I Am Not Ashamed. God is a storyteller, a lover composing a letter, and every word is hope and light and glory. This is the awesome endeavor, justice that flows forever, but fear and shame will interrupt the story. Shame is a blight on our vision, implicates us in vain competition. The imprint of fear on our hearts is how it all starts to break down. So we're set on a course for collision. We succumb to the way of division. All of us bullies and victims on the playground. I'm not ashamed. I will not cave. My spirit rises. I am brave. I shed the mark
implore you to the sound, subvert you with artful suspicion. Every word is hope and light and glory.
So we're set on a course for collision. We succumb to the way of division. But please remember, your life is not their story to tell. I'm not ashamed. I will not cave. My spirit rises. I am brave. I share the mark burned on my heart. My hope remains. I am not ashamed. Not ashamed, no, no, no.
God is a storyteller, a lover composing a letter. Every word is hope and light and glory.
I'm still pinching myself that you said yes to doing that with me. Thank you so much, Jen. Yeah, I got a couple more for you before we bring out the, I almost said birthday boy? That's not what this is. But feel free to surprise them and sing happy birthday. I think that would be really funny and confusing. This is a brand new one, and I hope I remember all the words for you. So I can't multitask, but we do tune because we care. This is a song called, it's so new, I've forgotten the name. Oh, If You Ever Leave, that's what it's called. And it's my song for folks, specifically queer folks, who feel like they gotta get out, girl. Get the heck out. I mean, in particular the church, and that's kind of what the song's focused on, but whatever hard, difficult, toxic situation you grow up in as a queer person, sometimes you gotta leave. I did, and I wrote about it. If you ever leave, I hope you leave a light on, just enough to see the open door you left from. Before you go, deck the halls with something bright and queer. A big rainbow, they'll pull it down, but they'll still know that you were here, only taking what you need, a little time to grieve. If you ever leave, if you ever go, please go easy on yourself. 'Cause everything you know was planted there by someone else. There's no such thing as a true religion, babe. A God who makes you cling to hatred for yourself. himself is not a God who saves. It's mirrors and smoke. Remember, all of it's for show. Should you ever wanna go, you became the martyr they groomed you to be, bleeding on the altar of fraud. It's the greatest love of all, but if you ever leave, you'll never see the face of God. So if we get to heaven and Jesus stops us at the gates, if he calls our love transgression, says I didn't die for gays, don't lose hope. I will take your hands in mine, and I'll pull you close, and with my other hand I'll give that God a sign. Gladly walk away from him. We're better off in sin if he doesn't let us in. I'd fight to see you leave your shame, and I think God would do the same. Thank you very much. It's weird being a drag queen who sings about religious trauma, but you know what they say, like, find something that no one else is doing and then you'll be the best at it. I have one more song for you. Thank you so much for listening tonight, for being here, and for celebrating Derek and the new record. It's just been a joy, a pleasure to be part of this. So, I'm so sorry? Oh my God, thank you so much. There's like, yeah, that reminds me of 3 other things I need to say too. So, I am back in Nashville very soon, September 15th. I'll be back actually at the Lipstick Lounge. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm glad that's the reaction. I've not been yet, but I'm very excited, very excited. In addition to being like a folk singer, songwriter, drag queen, I also like do the theatrical stuff. So I have a one-woman show, a cabaret show. It's called Godless Sheathen, and thank you. And I'll be doing it September 15th at Lipstick Lounge. So those tickets are out there. If you use the code Godless, you can save $5 on the ticket price. Yeah. Say again?
Come to Memphis.
I want to. Yeah, I love Memphis. I'm actually moving. So I've been in San Diego the past 17 years. I'm moving back to my hometown of Asheville next month, like in 5 weeks. So I'm really looking forward to being back on this side of the country and getting to tour more in the Southeast. I figured when I decided to call my record Bible Belt Baby, maybe I should like be back in the Bible Belts. So that's what we're doing. We're gonna give it a try anyway. So that was one thing. Oh, the other thing is that I do have a couple records. I brought a handful of vinyl. It's pink. It's very pretty. So if you'd like to grab that, you can do that from me afterward. And I think that's it. I think that's enough. Let's sing this song. So the last song was my if you have to like leave the church. But I also have a song for queer folks who decide to stay. This was inspired by a small group, a church small group one night, a Bible study. And it was a queer Bible study. And I kind of went against my will. At the time, I was very like, I was feeling my apostate fantasy at the time. And I wasn't super into it, but a friend dragged me and I was like, okay, a friend dragged me. Sorry. So I got there, and the facilitator of this small group said, welcome everybody, let's all go around the room and share how we reconciled our faith and our sexuality as an icebreaker. I thank you, yes. I was like, oh my gosh. So I raised my hand. I was like, I'm getting this over with. I do not want to, like whatever. So I raised my hand and I was like, well, I don't have to. I don't call myself a Christian anymore, so there's nothing to reconcile. Done, next. And yeah, I was very proud of that in the moment. I was very proud of that. And then we went around the room and everybody shared their story. And it was just one of those nights when folks got vulnerable and beautiful things were happening, and I picked up in every person's story some element of one of the reasons I stay, one of the reasons I'm still here in my church, or that I still engage with my faith, with other Christians and that sort of thing, is because I know that if I leave, I'm gonna leave this void in my community, and I know what's gonna fill that void if I'm not there. It's not gonna be more LGBTQ affirming theology. It's going to be, oh good, we got another one out of our midst. So I'm there, I stay, I take up that space in my community because I know there are still queer kids coming up, and I want them to have somebody to look up to. Well, I felt about this big after after we had gone around the room, and I went home and I wrote this song, and honestly that was a night that something big shifted for me personally, and I still struggle all the time with what my faith is and what it looks like and what do I call it and what is worship and who do I hang out with in spiritual spaces and all of those questions, but I do know that I want to be in the space somehow in some way, shape, or form because I was inspired to by other queer people, and so this song's for them. It's called Good Day. It's been a while since I sat with you without a knot in my chest. Oh, it's been a while since I wanted to. I always felt a little oppressed. Oh, it's been a while. It's been a while since I went ahead and let down my guard, 'cause I carry the weight of the words you said. That makes it just a little bit hard to reject the lies you perpetuate. But you're not the keeper of the pearly gate, and it's been a while, but I'm coming back to fight for my place. Good day to come back home. You sent me away, but I was never alone. You were afraid there was not enough, but you can't run out of love. So I'm here to stay, and I'm sitting in the front row. It's a good day to come out of the shadow. God made me good in every way, so I raise my voice to celebrate a good day. It's been a while since I could admit that there was something missing, but I've seen enough to know what love is. Yeah, what love is, and I'm not content to fade into the crowd and let you decide who's in or out. I'm coming back, I'm living proof that it all belongs without a doubt, yeah. A good day to come back home. Send me away, but I was never alone. You were afraid there was not enough, but you can't run out of love. So I'm here to stay, and I'm standing in the front row. It's a good day to come out of the shadow. God made me good in every way, so I raise my voice I'm not gonna hide. I got a heart in the right place, covered in the good graces of an endless love. Lenny Grant, everybody. Wow. Get that thing out of your way. No, beautiful, thank you. Woo. Yes, yep. That's the correct response, everybody, well done. Man, I've made such a mistake to have to follow all these beautiful people. Okay, well, thank y'all so much for being here. Flamey, thank you so much for for coming here and doing this with me, and all the things we've done this last year together really means a lot. So you've not seen the last of any of these people. I sent you a text, by the way, in case you want to check your phone back there. So yeah, I have a new record that's out. It's called The Jesus Hypothesis, and so I'm going to play a bunch of new songs if that's cool. But I'm not going to start. Not going to start with new songs. I'm going to start here, and then we'll see where we go from here. So, anyways, thank you all so much for being here. It really, really means a lot. Really, really does. So, and have we thanked Grace Point for hosting all of us to do this here tonight? Really appreciate you guys. All right. Well, here's another story about the invisible night. The elephant in the room trumpeting these lights. The slow hate, the hesitating voices in the dark. Here's another story about the invisible whites. Really gotta stop talking and meeting like this. There's a better way coming, and we both know what it is. And it's a hard sell, the ringing bell, and you're licking your lips. We really gotta stop talking and thinking like kids. This is the end. This is the end. It's just the end. This is my murder trial, and I'm gonna testify, and I'll love you to the very end, the very end, the very end. Cross my heart, hope to die. You are my firefly, and I'll love you to the very end, the very end, the very end. You are the anti-curse, death going in reverse, and I'll love you to the very end, the very end, the very end. Thank
you so much. Thanks so much again for being here. And I can't stop thinking about the thing I love, not even the most about Flamey Grant, is that it reminds me, you remind me a lot. There's this great quote from Dolly Parton that I will cite on your behalf. And it's when she was being questioned, I think by Johnny Carson, about her most prominent feature, let's say, that most people might know her for. Of course. So Johnny was asking her, about and she said, well, actually, these are just weapons of mass distraction, is all these are. Because she's so brilliant, and I love that you walk in the room, and the most extraordinary thing about you is not how extraordinary you look when you walk in a room. Drag is your weapon of mass distraction. You are like one of the most freakishly talented musicians and singers and songwriters that I've ever met. So anyway, I love you. But anyways, so gosh. So new song. So the new record's called The Jesus Hypothesis, and I'll be honest with you, that's just as close as I can get at this point. I am not trying to be difficult. I think words matter. And I find the word belief really tricky. Because the word belief, it's just not been a helpful word for me and I think I'm just kind of done, when it comes to things that are invisible, like God, unknowable, like the future, I think I'm just permanently uncertain about it. And I don't know that that's a thing I'm going to shake, and I'm glad to have that. And so I don't find myself believing things about spirituality anymore. But what I can do, and am doing very actively, is hypothesizing. In real time, the things that make sense, that ring true, I bring with me. The things that don't, you drop. You pick things back up. It's fascinating. And so, anyways, a lot of these songs are going to be somewhere in there. And I'm going to play them for you in the sequence that I wrote them, which is a really odd in all the I've not decided if this is interesting or not yet, but this is the first record of mine that the sequence of the songs on the record are in the order that I wrote them in. This is the order they appeared in, and so I don't know. So I'm going to start with the first one I wrote, and I'm going to kind of stick to that sequence pretty much. And don't worry, that's not all we're going to do. I have other songs, and we have guests, some of which you know. And but it's going to be, hopefully I'll do us proud here at the closing for Flamey. And so anyways, here's the title track. And it's called Jesus Hypothesis. Great surprise, I've got a few more words for you. Oh, I invented lots of friends, and man, I miss them too. Oh, 25 years on the line, I never talked to you. But maybe busy signals prove that someone's getting through. Oh, and maybe you were too tied up to talk. Oh, and maybe I just got the number wrong. Maybe the Jesus hypothesis is worth one more test. A rhythm for all there is that beats in my sheep are not lost, oh, they're just pioneers. Just brave enough to wander off and find what's past our fears. 'Cause to my great surprise, you've got a few more words for me. Oh, and words like love and you're enough if you've got eyes to see. Then maybe I was with you all along. For just one melody, you missed the song. About the Jesus hypothesis, it's worth one more test to find a rhythm for all there is that beats in my chest. Oh, the Jesus hypothesis, like Thomas's best guess. Oh, like Pascal wagering with all of the doubts in my head. It's ironic how I saw it upside down, just like a lawyer poured into a wedding gown, versus the Jesus hypothesis. A rhythm for all there is. Oh, the Jesus hypothesis. Oh, the Jesus hypothesis. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. Okay, so this is interesting. Sometimes songs just appear based on like phrases, just like it's something I find myself saying a lot. I just walk around, if I've been kind of poring over a kind of a complex idea and I'm looking for like I'm obsessed with efficiency. I'm a raging Enneagram 5. And so yes, thank you, there we go. So I'll finally find the words that I've been looking for, and then it's so satisfying, and I'll just say them a lot, and then oftentimes those things wind up in songs, because it's like when you find things that are helpful, language that's helpful, that feels true, and then you want to like remember to say that you want to, and so I figure if I write into a song, then I will say it. At least as often as I'm doing this, it'll come up and I'll hear it come out of my mouth, and I think that's a good thing usually for me to hear a true thing here or there. And so that's where this song came from. Now, if you've been keeping up, and I don't presume all you did, however, people don't usually kind of just happen into house shows. Now, this is obviously we're not in a house tonight. Normally I would be in somebody's living room, but this is like pro-level audience participation when you come into a thing like this, done like this. But you might think that I just came up with this in the last handful of years, and it's not true. I actually found myself saying this, maybe 15 years ago I started saying it. It's just aged really well, and I just finally got a song, finally. So here it is, and it's a song that's called Some Gods Deserve Atheists. Right? Yeah. So I just invite you to take that out for a spin and just see how that feels. Try it out, see how you feel about it. It was a very wise man. Josh Scott might know. He was quoted in the introduction for the John Shelby Spong book that you gave me, and so this is a very random reference. I should know his name because I quote him literally every time I play the song. And he said that if a god can be killed, then they must be killed. And especially when you found one you think could be the god, that's when you really have to work on this. It is always a good, in my opinion, it's always a good idea, worth your grief, worth your labor, to find, to identify, to root out false gods and kill them. Because one of the things I still agree with John Calvin about was his quote where he said that the hearts of people are like little idol factories. They don't ever close, and all they do is manufacture things for us to call God. And so you have to work really hard at destroying the ones that can be destroyed. And then if you find one you can't kill, maybe that's the one. I don't know. I'm uncertain about it. But I'm curious about it. And so sometimes you have to kill a not real thing for a real thing to appear, if there's a real thing. So that's helpful. I offer that. So here it is. Some gods deserve atheists. Maybe you gotta betray what you love the most, just to find out if it's really real or if it was just a ghost, something your mind just made up to keep you afloat. The anchor that's weighing you down, oh, it was such an easy yoke when you were young. And hypothetical sin was all that you'd done. Well, it was so simple then. When some life deserves death, some guillotines heads, like some men deserve what they get. Some love deserves loss, some saviors a cross, like some gods deserve atheists, like some gods they deserve atheists. The troubles I'm not reforming enough. Oh, if I am not willing to stand hammering more theses of just questioning what just doesn't belong, the God that's made up of everything we got wrong. When some life deserves death, some guillotines heads, like some men, they deserve what they get. Some love deserves loss, some saviors a cross, like some deserve atheists, like some gods they deserve Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Okay, one more new song, and then I'll move on for a little bit, a few minutes, and do something else. So it turns out you cannot try and write a record called the Jesus Hypothesis about whatever I said it was about without at least one song for Paul. Paul gets at least one song. The Apostle Paul, as you may know him. And just what a fascinating character, because here's a guy who was credited with having written the vast majority of the third of your Bible, the New Testament. And yet is a guy who arguably never even met or encountered Jesus. Now, I know that there's this, I hear in your head the objection about the story of the Damascus Road story where, Paul had this vision. I'm not positive that we ever hear that story out of Paul's mouth. I know we hear it in Acts from Luke when he's trying to lend credibility to this guy who was like murdering us a second ago, and now he wants to be one of our leaders, and so he's like, he's trying to talk him up to the apostles, the men who did know Jesus when he was alive. But it's just fascinating to me, and especially because Paul is a guy from whom we get almost all of our evangelical Christian theology really comes from Paul. Jesus didn't give us a lot of theology. Jesus gave us a lot of ethics, but not a ton of theology. A lot of that comes from Paul. And so, and Christianity has this unfortunate feature where it teaches people to hate and distrust themselves. And if you are a person who grew up in evangelical Christianity and you learned to hate and distrust yourself, you learned that from Paul. That was Paul's language weaponized against you that did that. And that's why Paul gets a song, because in my opinion, here's a guy who seems to not have really loved or trusted himself very much. And I often wonder if he had gone easier on himself, if he had shown himself some grace, that he might have saved himself and a lot of us, and me and my friends, a lot of heartache, having to process through all the grief of having grown up being taught a lot of those things. And you may think, well, but yeah, Paul talks so much about grace, and that's kind of true, but grace that causes you to kind of hate who you fundamentally are is not the kind of grace I'm talking about. And that's what I wish he had maybe known or seen. And so, all that said, is the title of this next song a play on words with a Rolling Stones song? Yes. But I really did mean it when I called the song Sympathy for Paul. So, here it is. Wherever he may be tonight, here's Paul. Hey, Paul, it's not that I don't believe your story, but you saw the Lord appearing in all his glory. You fell down at his feet in the middle of the street, and then you couldn't see for a week. Say, Paul, I wonder would it scandalize you if you saw how everyone has canonized you, like every word you said was on God's own letterhead, and his spirit was caught in your throat. And now every Pharisee must die eventually by every word you wrote, Paul. But hey, Paul, brother, don't misunderstand me. After all, we're so alike that it's uncanny. We've said so many words about a man we've only heard about, but we've never seen his face. And we're both running from the man that we'd become before we changed our names. Paul, you're still killing us, Paul. You're still killing us, Paul. still killing us. So hey Paul, if you could see, would you regret it? How the law made you see yourself as wretched? Would it break your heart to know that your church won't marry folks whose love it sees as a thorn? Because maybe you never knew that Jesus was loving you exactly the way you were born. Paul, by accident or not, you're still killing us, Paul, and maybe it breaks your heart. You're still killing us, Paul, and brother, do you hear us crying out? You're still killing us. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's take a break from new songs here just for a few minutes. We're gonna need breaks. So I got my start. I am short, so I look young, but I've been in this job for a very long time, and before some of you were born, I as a matter of fact, and I'm in my, so some friends and I in Texas started the band Caedmon's Call in 1992, which means I've been in this job for 31 years. And so I was 7 years old when I joined Caedmon's Call. And I was what they call a child prodigy. And anyways, so that's where I got my start, a decade in that band, and then have been doing whatever this is for about another 20, and absolutely love getting to do this, and I really appreciate. I don't know where I'd be if not for every one of y'all, and some people here in this room who I'll surely talk about before the night is over. But some interesting thing happened a couple years ago in the world of Caedmon's Call. We are still friends. We've always been friends. I love these people. They're like my family. And we have a text thread that if I was to scroll all the way to the top of it, it would go back to 2000. And it would be like whenever text was invented is where we started. And it's like a group text that we've all been on forever. And I absolutely love these people. And we realized something in 2021. We realized that last year, 2022, we had a record of ours that was turning 25 years old. It was our self-titled record. It was the first record that most people found us. And because it was our first record with a major label. And it was turning 25, and yet somewhere along the lines over the years, it had gone out of print. Like you couldn't find it. It wasn't on Spotify, wasn't out for sale anywhere. You couldn't hear it. And so we thought, like, how do you, so a few of us were talking about it and thinking, man, 25 years, it's like such a big birthday. But how do you celebrate a record you can't even find online, anywhere? You can't listen to it. And so because we don't own it, like the masters, we couldn't like re-release it, that'd be illegal. But we thought, could we pull a Taylor Swift? And could we re-record the whole thing now and release it like again? And it turns out, yes, we could. And so it turns out, yes, we did. We did do that, and we did it last year. And so we, and more on that in a moment, but we re-recorded the whole record and we re-released it last year. And we actually played a couple of shows here in town around that time last year, or that was this year we did that. And we got one more to do in Dallas someday. Early next year, we're going to play one last show in Dallas. But anyways, so I'm going to play you. And it was an absolute joy to get to re-record these songs, revisit these old songs. And I want to play the very first Caedmon's Call song I ever heard, which I obviously did not write. It was written by my great friend Aaron Tate, still one of my best friends, and who I went to high school with, and he's the one who introduced me into the band. And when I heard this song of his, it was like the summer before I was supposed to start college, basically. And when I heard this song, I canceled all my plans and turned my life upside down to join this band. And I'm so grateful for that decision and this song and those people. And so anyways, here it is. And Aaron probably wrote this song when he was 19, and here I am at almost 50, and I'm not half the writer that Aaron was at 19. This is one of the best. He was incredible. Is still incredible. So I'm going to play you this one and then a brand new Caedmon song we're just about to release. And so here it is. It's on that self-titled record. and it's called Not Enough. I'm mount up with waxen wings. I'm high to reach the sun, but I am no further than when I first begun. So I build a mount of Athos to shape your form against the sky. With my home in your hands, to show all the people why. Just to show all the people why. Everything I do is not enough for you. Oh, everything I do is not enough. It's not enough for you. In the garden of my pride, oh, the lamented lime tree is too stupid to cry for rain. Oh, it's fruitless and choked out by weeds. So I write a book of life using the best words I can find. Some struggler to snuggle up to when the world becomes unkind. Oh, when the world becomes unkind. Everything I do is not enough for you. Oh, everything I do is not enough. It's not enough for you. So I find direction in eastbound clouds, long for what they have. Oh, but when I step into its mist, the substance I cannot grasp. So I paint a portrait of you as if you had human disguise, with oil and canvas to be clay, to open up their eyes, just like he opened up my eyes. So everything I do is not enough for you. Oh, everything I do is not enough. It's not enough for you. Everything I do is not enough for you. Oh, everything I do is not enough. It's not enough for you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we have a new song, and I'm not gonna. Sometimes I'll tell the whole story about the whole Kickstarter thing and the way this record got re-recorded, and I'm not gonna waste your time with that tonight. This song was the idea of this song was a joke. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I was running this Kickstarter thing for Caedmon's last year to figure out if people really wanted us to do this or not. And they did, and so we did and all that. But it got so like crazy at one point that we thought, what crazy things could we put up at numbers we know we won't hit, just as like for fun, just way up high, way up in some number. And it's pretty well known amongst the band anyway, that there's at least one song on this record that I've had a very complicated relationship with over the years that I wrote. And it's a song called Bus Driver. It's a song that I've denied writing over the years, but I did. And what I thought would be funny is if we hit a certain number that I knew we would never hit, then I will write a sequel. I will write Bus Driver Part 2, more Bus Driver, if we hit this high number. We all thought that was hysterical. And then we hit it like the next day, and for sure. And so I did, in fact, wind up having to write Bus Driver 2. But let me say this. It turns out, just as a quick aside, it turns out I don't hate Bus Driver. In case any of you love it, I don't actually hate the song. I just didn't love the way we recorded it. It's like the song, Bus Driver is this big. It's such a small little, tiny little, meant to be sweet little metaphor that I wrote for our friends back home in Houston. We were starting to tour, and then we got our record deal, and we were like, things were happening for us. And they would say to us, our friends, about how, oh, you know, that it's so cool, all these things are happening for y'all, and I'm just like here going to school, or I'm here working this job in retail, and it sucks, and it doesn't really matter, and I could just not show up, and it's so cool you guys are doing that, having this big impact. And I mean, that made no sense. That never sat right with me. And so I wrote the song Bus Driver as an encouragement to my friends back home, that that's not how things work. Like, you have no idea the impact you're having on the people around you just by showing up and doing the thing that you do every day. You have no idea. And especially the most thankless jobs and roles. You have no idea. You couldn't possibly know. It's like It's a Wonderful Life. You couldn't possibly know the impact you're having on people. And so that was all the song meant to be. But then when we recorded it, it sounds so dramatic. There's all these big cymbal swells, and it just sounds so like we thought we'd come up with the most profound and deep thing anyone had ever thought of, is the way the song sounds to me on that first record. But we fixed it when we re-recorded it. Now it sounds like a little something you could play, you know, on a porch on the east side of Nashville. And so now it sounds this big too, so it's nice, it works. I'm glad that we re-recorded it before I had to write this, because this might have been like a sarcastic, I don't know what could have happened, but I made my peace with Bus Driver and then wrote this. And so I thought, with the record being 25 and all, what if we just pick right up with our bus driver in real time? 14 years he'd been on the job, I believe, when we checked in with him last. And so I thought we'd be coming up on, 40 for our bus driver in this job he's had. And what prevailing wisdom, if any, might our bus driver have for us here on the day of his retirement? So that's when we're checking back in with him, on his very last day. So here it is. And I hope this is encouraging to any of you who have thankless jobs, or if you're parents, which I am, of teenagers. And so I know how it feels to be in a thankless role sometimes. And so I hope this is an encouraging thing for you all. And it's called Bus Driver 2. It's also called It All Matters After All. So today is 40 years since I first pulled out of here. I always knew there'd come a day I'd have to pump the brakes. But I love this job. I loved every morning stop and every single story I picked up along the way. It went fast and it went slow. It was a long, long way to go. But trust me when I tell you, good things come to those who wait. Charles and Judith never did, not one middle school kid. 'Cause I always showed up right on time, I was never late. It may not sound like much, but you never know the lives you touch. Just by always showing up, even on the days you feel so small. Oh, it turns out it all matters after all. I've probably been to Sao Paulo 1,000 times to San Antonio. If you add up all the circles that I drove around this town, guess I didn't get far, but I never hit a car. Oh, everybody got where they were going, safe and sound. Oh, and it may not sound like much, but you never know the lives you touch. Just you feel so small. Oh, it turns out it all matters after all. Oh, I used to look around and just see strangers crowding in and out, means to an end. Oh, and I can see it all now. I always had the best seat in the house, just to see where we've been, to see just how far we've come together. Sheet cake on paper plates, Judas family came. I dropped her off at her last stop. I guess it's been a year. But now gathered in this place on my very last day, a few sweet souls in orbit and the bus that brought us here. Oh, and that may not sound like much, but you never know the lives you touch just by always showing up, even on the days you feel so small. Oh, it turns out it all matters. You know it really matters. Oh yes, it all matters after all. Thank you so much. Well, I have so many friends who are here, and one friend who you've already, whose presence you've already been made aware of, is not getting out of this room without playing a couple of her songs. So you guys, please welcome my great friend, Miss Jennifer Knapp, to come back up.
Finally, I can stand in front of people with my clothes on, like my guitar. Standing up here,
I was like, what have you been doing?
I was standing up here earlier with like no microphone stand and no guitar. I'm like, people can see my ass. Like, so disturbing. Hey everybody, how you going? Yeah, it's a little bit hard to sit back there and know half your songs and like not sing loud.
Sing loud.
But thanks for asking me to play, I guess. It was my day off, but whatever. No, I've appreciated you guys so much. I'll tune and try and talk at the same time. Honey, that's her name. She's been sitting here in the cold for a while. One of the things, Derek and I have been around for a long time, and yes, I'm short too, but I'm still getting wider, which is a sign of my age. But no one in this room understands what that's like, especially post-COVID. What I love that we've spent hours on the road talking, and music is a really great part of it too, but I think we're somewhere in the zone of saying if you're not growing or evolving in some way, you're almost dead. And I think one of the blessings of our lives as songwriters is that we're constantly looking for new material. And as a version of that, I think our minds are just constantly thinking, I think. So I've kind of wanted, like, even though I haven't done CCM music or Christian music for a long time, I've really tried to find it's just been a labor to find new ways to say something about what I'm thinking about deeply. And I don't want my spirituality to be trite, and belief is a weird, funky word. And but I guess my short version of that to say is, somewhere in this whole spectrum of evangelical Christianity, I've always thought something about liberation, if something's really truly setting us free, at some point in time it should find us however it finds us. That a liberation is not just free to do whatever you want, but to be unencumbered and to be alive and fully thriving. And something about that is exceptionally exceptional to me. It's above my imagination. And There are really subtle ways that I found it in other places than just a little cross, so, you know, in ways that kind of go beyond Christianity, that I feel like we limit ourselves if it's just to this little belief, but I would dare you to dream bigger. And in some of those ways, to, you know, to put on that wig, to put on this pantyhose, if that liberates you. Never did me. No, taking them off liberated me. But see, but you know, that's what I'm kind of talking about. To find a liberation, it's not one, you know, cut and dry for everybody. That liberation's going to be found in these amazing little things. That's all to say is that I've really tried to work hard at finding and putting, kind of infusing probably more theology in the new work that I write than I did in any of my older stuff. So I'll share one off of my last record, which I did, ironically, I wrote this while I was in grad school at Vanderbilt, which is really cool, way of me saying, hey, I've got some street cred, and I'm smart. But all to say is I think there's something really beautiful that we labor and we work through the difficult things, that liberation, that we find it isn't just a free thing. Like somewhere in there, our blood, sweat, and tears really matters in finding the things that we earn. And not that we, you know, essentially earn that, but we're participants in that, and to the obstacles and the hurdles and the trials are not necessarily these inherently bad things, to think that we've labored for something, that we've been there and present for something about that. So this is my version of Bus Driver. A little blue collar for you. There's a seed for every season that will meet the back of bend. Hunger that only harvests men. So you take the plow, tear into the earth, 10 men toil the rattling soil, don't care how much it hurts. squeeze blood from the churning, or hold my breath blue. I've waited and waited and waited on you. You do what you want, I do what I can. I'm just trying to keep faith in my fellow man. I have harvested nothing by tearing through you. I try and I try and I try as I do. I've bloodied my fist trying to keep my own plan. Oh, the damage I've done to my fellow man. Like a stone to the river that cannot be washed to the sea. Keep filling it up till it's taken enough and it breaks the sea. Yeah, we break the sea. Well, I know that you want it. I can't see in your face. It's the desperate reaching, the trying to chase. What's some call delusion? Well, I've seen it firsthand. It's the whispers of hope in my fellow man. Like a stone to the river that cannot be washed to the sea. They filling it up till it's taken enough and it breaks the sea. Yeah, we break the sea. Like a stone to the river that cannot be washed to the sea. Keep filling it up till it's taken enough and it breaks the sea. And we break the sea. In the breath of the morning, where will you be? Waiting, waiting, please wait on me. I know it's not easy, I'm sure it's not grand. Still, I'm trying to keep faith in my fellow man.
Beautiful. Ah, thank you so much for doing that. All right, Jennifer Knapp. I love that we're still somehow in rooms together. We've known each other for so long and through many lifetimes, and so it's just the best, man. Okay, a couple more new songs, and we're rounding third, y'all. We're doing great. Really appreciate everybody doing okay and getting what you need or whatever over there, wherever you're at over there. Just a few more songs here. So here's a song that is on the new record, and it's probably the most personal song on the new record, I think. And it's a song I wrote for a very dear person to me who came out to me, and I think I was maybe the very first person, one of the first people they told. And I was very moved by their trust and their vulnerability. And so this song, it was just my response to them. And I suspected that it might be helpful for them to be able to bring it with them. And so I wrote it as a song so they could hear it over and over if they needed it. And I've made a video for this song. Now, I don't make a lot of videos. I'm pretty blue collar. I don't have a lot of business middle class folk singer don't have a lot of business making videos, and I've only made a few in my whole career, but I made one for this song, and this is what I'll say. I have in my career, in my 20 whatever years of solo music, I could count on one hand the times that over those years I have done something to intentionally provoke people. I can count on one hand. Now, it's happened many, many times. But I didn't mean to. Like, it wasn't you can't always help your source material. You look at the world, you describe it. That's kind of a creative's job description. And, I write a song, and I'm like, oh, well, that's going to make difficult year next year or whatever. But I don't mean to do it. It just happens. With this video, I will tell you, it is on that very short list of things that I have done in my career to intentionally provoke folks. And I really hope that it has and does, especially the people right here in my home state of Tennessee. And I was very grateful. Oh, okay. I was so grateful. I was talking to Flamey and some friends in San Diego about maybe hatching a plan to do a thing. And I'm pretty sure this was mostly your idea, to make this video and to do it this way. And if you haven't seen it, I hope you will. I hope you'll find it. But I'm going to play the song for you. And Flamey, if you will join me here for the end, that would be beautiful. And I've also had very few guest people on my records over the years. Maybe not in 20 years since my first record, until Flamey sang the verse on this song, and I was so honored to have that as well. So, anyways, here's a song for you, and it's called "Boys Will Be Girls." Saying that I love you, maybe even more than before. I know your face, but now I see more of you. There was so much beauty just behind the door. You invited me in. Oh, and believe it or not, hardest is behind you, saying who you are and what you need out loud. But this great gift is always gonna haunt you, like a good ghost pulling you from the crowd to places you have never been. Well, sometimes the boys will be girls, sometimes armor will be pearls. What you put on, oh, it shows the world how hard you're fighting. Brothers, sometimes boys will be girls. They say the greatest revenge is a life well lived. And so the loudest fuck you, oh, and the greatest gift that you could ever give, oh, they're one and the same. 'Cause sometimes boys will be girls, sometimes armor will be pearls. What you put on, oh, it shows the world how hard you're fighting. Sisters, sometimes boys will be girls. Oh, boys will be girls. don't celebrate and love you. Well, they're believing lies that can't save you or them, 'cause you're so beautiful. Thank you. Well, that is your handiwork, my friend. Okay, so all my records have at least one odd love song, and so here's the odd love song on the Jesus Hypothesis. And it's not my story, not entirely. It's I borrow stories sometimes, and so this is my parents' story. My parents, who at the time of this writing, married for 3 I think years, and have a crazy love story. Crazy story. My mom grew up very poor in Knoxville, and basically on a farm, and she was her oldest sibling could have easily been her very old parent. She was a surprise baby in a large family, and grew up very sheltered on this little farmland in Knoxville. My dad grew up rough. My dad grew up without a dad. His dad died just before he was born, and he was the youngest of 3 older sisters and his mother, who all lived in one bedroom of his grandparents' house in Memphis, all growing up. And he was a fighter. He literally held a welterweight title in boxing and traveled all over the place defending that, and certainly defended the idea of him having that title in the streets of Memphis quite a bit. So he had a rough upbringing, and then he met my wife. My wife's over there. Sorry, I can't stop. And then he met my mom. He met my mom, and had this crazy kind of like 180, like went off to make himself worthy of her kind of story, and it was really sweet. But I've known these stories for a long time. There's a lot of great stories about their whole crazy love affair, in my family. But the reason I wrote this song last year was because, for the first time in 50 some odd years, my mom and dad could no longer live in the same place together anymore, because my parents both being in their 80s and my dad much older than my mom, she just could not take care of him anymore. She could not take care of him to the degree that he needed care. And so my wife and I had to walk through the very difficult process of moving him into a nursing care facility while my mom lived on in the community where they had lived before. And it was just a really wrenching thing to have to go through with my parents, because I just remember in the 20 minutes that I had between these two places, and this drive that we made quite a bit in a month or so, I had a lot of time to think about it, and mostly it just made me really angry. It made me really angry, knowing my parents' story the way I do, and watching it have to kind of end this way. It was really hard, and so I wrote this song about their story. And here's what's crazy, is about 20-ish, a little more than 20 years ago, I wrote a song just like this, under almost the same circumstances. My dad's mom, my grandmother, had just moved into a nursing care facility, and I sat with her one afternoon when I was out on the road with the band, and she told me her whole life story one afternoon as I sat with her, as though she didn't know me, because she didn't. And so I got to hear her whole life story, and it was so moved by hearing it all at once like that I wrote this song for her. It was called Dance, and Caedmon's recorded it. It was on a Caedmon's record. And like almost 20 years later, I'm sitting with my dad in a nursing care facility. He's telling me his stories as though he didn't know me. So those songs are siblings. They have I've woven them together. And so anyways. So maybe this and just a couple more after this, and then we'll clear out. But so here's about for my parents. My mom. My dad passed just before Caedmon's played their shows in town. And so for my mom. And it's called Car Crash. When I saw you dancing on the table, I knew you were the one. And it was easy, like spending all the money, a fist into a glove. Like pulling a thread that's gonna mean trouble, like how you fall in love. That's how I lost you, little by little, and kinda all at once. And like a sunset, the color is stunning right before it disappears. And I can hear it, but the music is fading that was ringing in my ears. Tonight, I want to cry in a car crash, maybe an airplane. Oh, I don't want to hear the shot that ends the whole thing. I want to sleep in a house that's going up in flames. Oh, I would give up the years if it meant half the pain. Oh, I don't want to live so long that I don't know your name. Well, I was a fighter, a silver-tongued devil, so I knew how to take a punch. And I swam across the Mississippi River just trying to find someone who would fight me, who doesn't want to hold me up against the ropes, who won't hurt me like every other lover that I have ever known. Tell you, I want to die in a car crash, maybe an airplane. Oh, I don't want to hear the shot that ends the whole thing. I want to sleep in a house that's going up in flames. Oh, I would give up the years if it meant half the pain. Oh, I don't want to live so long that I don't know your name. Oh, but we could get out of here. Oh, and we could drive my Cadillac across state lines. Oh, where there's nothing for us to fear. And I really hate to tell you, I feel afraid most days when I don't know what to say, except I love you. Thank you so much. There are days I don't believe the words I say. Like a life that I'm not living, a song that I'm not singing, but to you. There are times that I believe I'm satisfied, like an intimate connection, despite this bad reception with you. 'Cause I can't afford to pay most of what I say. Oh, and it's a lucky thing it's true that I need this more than you. So like one whose name is many, have mercy, please don't send me away. Oh, and I'll do all I can just to be a better man. Oh, and I'll clean up this act, but be worse than when we started. Oh, I'm like a mockingbird with no new song to sing. Oh, I'm like an amplifier, just tell you what I've heard. I'm just like that mockingbird. I am like that mockingbird with no new song to sing. Oh, I'm like that amplifier, just tell you what I've heard. I'm just like that mockingbird. I am like a mockingbird. I'm just like that mockingbird. Thank y'all. Thank you so much. I'm just going to play these last couple of songs, and gosh, I so appreciate everybody coming. And I mean, it's like I can't. This is a new feature in the last 10 years or so. It's a thing that you'd think I planned it, because it goes right into this next song, but that I am like unshakably grateful in my life at this point in my life, and for what I have, and for my family and my friends and all of y'all, and I just and that's like a thing. Like, I've done this for a long time, but I've not always felt grateful about it, and I really regret all the years that I took it for granted or expected it or felt entitled to it somehow, or I don't know what, but boy, there's such a difference in being awake to the good things and the good people in your life, and I am awake to that at this point, and I did write this song about it, and I don't normally play it, but I got another very good and longtime friend who is here, has meant a lot to me over the years, has shown up in at some crucial moments for me over the years. So grateful that she's here, and I'm going to ask Tiffany Arbuckle from Plum to come up and sing on this next one. And we'll do that. I'll do this, and I'll do just one more. Thank you so much for being here. My God, yeah.
He's so great. Oh my gosh.
Well, where would we be without each other?
Where would we be?
Anyway, so this is a new song, and it's called Grateful. You always said that there was nothing worse than making it. If every word in every single verse, you're faking it. 'Cause the truth would ruin you, and you know it. So you sabotage massage yourself and smile. You always knew you were the lucky one, but troubled still. 'Cause on your way to anywhere you rode the rumble strip, you were waiting for that crash till you finally fell asleep at the wheel. You were waiting for the crash to wake you up. And it took too long to get really good and grateful. And man, I'm grateful now. It took too long to get really good and grateful. And man, I'm grateful now.
Do you believe that if you're really saved, you're always saved? I'm asking for a friend whose opinion changes every day. Once I stopped digging around for a savior. Oh, that's when I finally found a friend.
And it took too long to get really good and grateful. But man, I'm grateful now. It took too long to get really good and grateful. But man, I'm grateful now. Oh, I used to think that every single good thing was in my rear view. Don't underestimate a heart that thinks it just can't be made new. But then you came, spoke my name, you called me out of the grave. I made it you. You love me, oh you love me, oh you love me, you. And it took too long to get really good and grateful. But man, I'm grateful now. It took too long to get really good and grateful. But man, I'm grateful now. It took too long to get really good and grateful. But man, I'm grateful now. It took too long to get really good and grateful. But man, I'm grateful now. Thank you so much for being here. Tiffany Arbuckle. All right, I'm going to play one more song, and I just can't say again. I want to thank some people really quickly. Let's thank Grace Point Church for having us in their space. Love, love, love these people. I want to thank Miss Flamey Grant for opening up the show, and I am like such a crazy big fan. I'm a patron of Flamey's, and I suggest all of you go to patreon.com/FlameyGrant and become patrons, because you want to be behind what this beautiful woman is doing. And I'm a very proud patron. I've got my fan, I've got my coffee cup, I've got my vinyl, I've got everything. And could not love or wish more to support what Flamey's up to. So please go and do that. Vinyls are on the table back there. Flamey has vinyls on the table. Please pick those up. I want to thank Jen Knapp for being here. Legend. Longtime friend and legend. We've spent many hours in minivans together. And I'm just couldn't be more grateful that we're still hanging out. And Miss Tiffany Arbuckle for being here and singing on the lesson. And so here's one last song. And we'll be here hanging out for a few minutes here if you guys want to say hello. You're going to have to make your way around the room to get to everybody. We've got some over here, we got some over here, we got some over there. But if you guys want to hang for a few minutes, we would love to say hello. And before I go, one last thing I want to mention. As you make your way out at some point, you're going to walk by that table back there. There's merch on it. There's vinyl, there's posters, there's CDs, or as we like to call them, commemorative coasters, if you would like one, for $5. They're back there. But what else is back there what else is there is an opportunity for y'all to get involved in something that is so deeply important to me that I love so much. Every time I play, I always bring the folks from Child Fund with me. Child Fund is a child sponsorship organization that I've worked with for like 10 years, and I love them so much, the work they do. I've worked with a lot of organizations over the years, and way even back to Caedmon's days, we always thought it was very important to never be the most important thing going on in the room. To always have something else that we could point people to that was like in an effort to turn a fun night into an important night. And that's exactly why I have these folks with me. The need is urgent, and these are the children of the most poor people on the planet that we have back here. And this is not a joke. I mean, I think there are 8 kids on the table. I have a 9th right here because I want to show you. This is what's there. This is what I would love before you leave. I'd love you to pick up, look at, read their stories, look at where they're from. They're from all over the world. There are so many things I love about Child Fund. One of the main things is that they are not a religious nonprofit. Now, the thing I love the most about that is it enables them to go in parts of the world that organizations like Compassion International, World Vision just cannot, because they do not include Bible teaching as part of their exchange in this thing, and so they therefore can go into places whose governments will not allow Christian nonprofits to come, in case that's important to you. And also, they have the smartest, most innovative financial model that I've ever seen. I love geeking out about numbers, and I won't do that right now. But if you have questions, please ask me. I would love to answer them. I'll be back there. And I would love for y'all to sponsor kids. There's 9 of them. There's 9 of them in the room. And please consider that. I know you didn't walk in here thinking you might walk out of here with a kid tonight, but I would love for you to consider it, especially if you're somebody like me who grew up in church and as an adult tithing and maybe are not in church at this point and are looking for somewhere to direct those tithing dollars. And I have a great idea for you. And so if you want to do it, here's what you do. Just pick one of these up. Inside each one, there's an envelope. You pull that right out, and there's pins and everything back there. You open it. You fill out this top part. It takes about 1 minute. You seal it, and you put it in the honor system box back there where the cash is. You take this home with you. And I 2-day air these back to them, and so they'll be back in touch with you in like a couple days through email. And you're off to the races. You can quit anytime you want. You can literally just turn it off anytime you want. If your circumstances change, you decide you just can't afford to do it, just stop. That's part of their really great financial model, is they make it very easy to stop if you need to. And the people on the other end of your support do not feel the disruption in care. So if you have questions, please ask me. And in exchange, this is the best part. These envelopes filled out, these are like golden tickets, except you can grab them yourself. I will give you everything on my merch table for free in exchange for these, because that's vinyl and paper and plastic, and it's meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. These are people. Honest to God, these are people somewhere in the world right now. And if I can thank you, incentivize you, whatever, by giving you merch to get you to try this, even just for a month just to try it, then you can cancel. If you take 2 vinyl records, 9 CDs, and a poster off my table for free, and you do this and it costs like $37 or something, and you quit after 1 month, you made money. Does that make sense? It's a deal you can't refuse. So that's my deal for you. So in exchange for these envelopes, and I'm really not joking, take all my merch for free. That's how much it would mean to me. So thanks. And I'm going to play one last song. And it's the most challenging song I ever wrote. It took me forever to write this song. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. And it goes by really fast. But I started by saying tonight that words are important. Language matters. It does. And there's a bit of language that I've always loved. I mean, so if you've got a word that you like and you ask 10 people to define it for you and you get 10 different definitions, immediately stop using that word. It doesn't mean anything. So don't use it. It's bad communication. But for us here tonight, based on the night we've had, I will use a little shorthand, and I'll say the word deconstruction. I hate it. The word deconstruction, don't use it anymore. Gets a bad rap. It's basically just taking an audit of all your presumptions about invisible reality. That's what it is. And it's perennial. You should always be doing it. It's a rhythm. You don't ever stop doing it. But what I've always thought is that no one really deconstructed before Jesus did. And what I mean is because he had this great thing that he did one time where he came in and he said to a bunch of people, you've heard it said, and he said a thing that they all knew. And it was long-held belief and tradition. And he said, but I say unto you, and he said a different thing that made it mean a whole other thing they'd never thought of before. And he did it over and over again. And you've heard it said, he said a whole thing that they were like, yes, we grew up, we've taught our ancestors this. Yes, we know what that is. Nah, but I say unto you, in other words, to say, maybe you've misunderstood this whole thing. And maybe you have done it and practiced it completely other than the way that it's meant to be understood and practiced, maybe. And he really threw the gauntlet down with that one. And so I thought, I'd like to take that out for a spin. That whole, you've heard it said, but I say unto you. And so what I tried, that's why it was so hard, is to take all the toxic theology I grew up studying and loving and obsessed with and arguing with people about, and put all that back in Jesus' mouth and have him say to me and to us, you might have heard all this said, but I have something to say to you, and it's simple. It's simple. It's simpler than you think it is. And so let's see if we can get through this, and then we'll be done. And thank you all so much again for being here. And here's a song that's called God in Drag. Well, you've heard it said, God spoke words if you can read them. With his very breath he breathed them. And only righteous men received them till all at once he just stopped speaking. Divine decree on every page, without error or mistake. Slavery, murder, incest, rape, for everything, a time and place. Don't trust yourself, just turn the page. You know it takes the eyes of faith to really know what's what. And you've heard it said, God so loves but he'll reject you. If you so choose, he will respect you. And for all time, he'll disconnect you from his love and those who've left you. And in the skies live on without you, while the devil's flames surround you. In the place that he designed to, for eternity remind you of the choice that's now behind you. Either way, I bet you'll break a sweat. And you heard it said, by the time you're born, oh, it's too late. You don't even get a say. Oh, there's free will, but not today, 'cause great-granddad sealed your fate when he believed a talking snake who deceived his perfect mate. He just took the fruit and ate, and one bad apple is all it takes when all humanity's at stake. Even just a little taste poisons the very root. Oh, but I say unto you, you're beautiful and free. But you've heard it said, God made Eve from Adam's rib to help him out and raise his kids so he could rule while she submits and take the blame for what he did. And that's the way that God designed it. That's the way the state defined it. Now the church won't recognize it. You should need to reassign it, 'cause you're just so sick of hiding somewhere between husbands, wives, zeros, and ones. You heard it said, oh, God gave up his only son to suffer and die for what you've done, like lambs for a millennium. Oh, he hates the bullet but loves the gun, 'cause violence is the holy way. If you don't call out his only name, whether sinner or a sage, you'll be healed just outside the gates. So love your neighbor every day, but use the wrong words when you pray. You'll be without excuse. Oh, but I say unto you, you're beautiful and free. Such a lovely melody if you're really listening. like God in drag, dressed up like the real thing.